I just saw Venom 3, The Last Dance, and man, was it not really a great movie at all. I thought the first Venom movie was pretty good for what it was and for when it came out, and I thought it was, just fine. The second movie came out, and I thought it was pretty stupid, and now this movie, it seems like Sony just didn't even care anymore. It's very obvious that Sony should not be handling anything involving Spider-Man anymore. It seems the only thing they can really do good with is the Spider-Verse films, because these villain Spider-Man films are just really bad. I know Craven is coming out, and hopefully that's good, but we will see. But man, all the other Spider-Man villain spin-off films have just been really, really bad. I don't even know why Sony even keeps continuing these at all. It's almost as if they know they're bad and they just want to keep making them because they want to flex the Spider-Man IP. But yeah, now we're at Venom 3, the last of the trilogy. And yeah, that's right. It's a trilogy now. No more Venom movies. At least with the characters that we know, and I'll get to that at the end. I think the overall biggest issue with this film is just that it is just exposition dump after exposition dump. There are so many scenes in this film where people just keep talking and explaining background. They don't let the audience figure things out for themselves. There's so many times where characters are talking to each other as if it's the first time they talk to each other in forever, and it's clearly done this way so the audience knows what's going on and they have the context, but this film does it really bad. Like in the first 20 to 30 minutes alone, we're given so much shit and information, and it's like, okay, cool, I guess. Another big issue with this film is that it just dragged on for me, at least. There were so many moments where I was just very bored, and I really wish the film would just get on to the point that it's trying to make. Like, the main characters, Brock and Eddie, doesn't even get to, like, anything interesting until there's, like, 40 minutes left in the film when they're in Vegas. First part of the film is just them walking around and running away, and it's very boring and like nothing really happens. There is some funny moments and some funny banter between Eddie and Venom, and I feel like that was really the best parts of the film when those two are just, mucking around. The pacing was also just really bad. There was just so many moments where the movie had to speed run background stories and lore drops. The animation doesn't look the best. It looks okay, but I don't know if it was just a theater, but the animation looked very grainy and it didn't look very polished. It definitely seemed like this film is just going to look better on DVD releases when they actually have time to finish making it look good. Even the opening scene of this film, they gave a background story to like this Venom symbiote leader King, and I swear this had to have been made by AI because the way it looks just doesn't look like anything an artist would make. I don't know, it just doesn't look impressive at all art-wise, and it was like that for so many movies. Speaking of which, most of the movie is dark, and not like, oh, it's evil dark or it's bad. No, it was literally so dark. It took place during the night, and like, I swear you could fall asleep to this type of film because of how dark it was. Even when the sun came out, it was still dark. How does that even happen? The story itself is just very predictable. You could definitely tell what's going to happen at the film based on the trailers alone. Also, based on the title alone and like what they talk about in the beginning, like you could just tell where this film was going to go. There is a part in the movie where Eddie meets this hippie family, and you could just tell they're just in the film just to move the plot forward, and it's very forced, and I think that's really dumb. Like, I even knew that the kid was going to give him the candy bar and Venom is going to come back and be like, thanks for the candy bar. It's like, it was so predictable. There's just so many moments like that where it's like you could just know what they're going to say next. It's like they don't even try. Characters, Eddie Brock, or Tom Hardy, he really did do his best. I feel like he was the only one trying his hardest. They also had the guy who plays Scar from Lion King 2019 in this film, and he did fine, but he didn't really stand out. Really, Tom Hardy's the only one who I think cared, and it seems like he was definitely passionate because, like, it seems like he wants to make more of these films, and I do feel for him, and, hopefully he can get some more gigs, but other than that, everyone else was garbage. No one really stood out, and no one really didn't wow me. There wasn't really any character development between anyone. Everyone just was so static towards each other. Even Venom himself seemed like he was even more stupider than he was in this film. I swear in the first Venom film, Venom, like the alien himself, was like very smart and wise and very to himself, but the second and third movie, they just went all meme mode and just turned him into an idiot. Like what happened to this guy? Why is he so stupid, and why is he always cracking jokes? I know that's not like the biggest complaint because if he's funny, it works. But there's some times where it seems like he doesn't even feel like a symbiote. He seems like, I don't know, these symbiotes are supposed to be deadly creatures, and then you have Venom over here acting like a clown. I really don't know what other way to put it. I don't know. It doesn't fit right with this character. If they do make a new Venom movie, which it seems like they are going to make a new Venom movie, I hope that they learn from these films and actually try harder. It seems like they were setting up a big universe for Venom, but on that topic, they also didn't really explore it. The main villain that was introduced into the beginning of the film never even left his throne, like, at all. He didn't even get up. He was just talked about, but I guess that's supposed to be for the next Venom movies. There's also this shadow organization that Strickland, one of the soldiers who was hunting Venom and Eddie, he worked for this shadow organization who we don't know anything about. Maybe somebody would, I guess, if they read the comics, but I'm not going to do that. So yeah, a lot of things in this film just doesn't really hit well. I'd say it's very mid. In fact, just if you really don't care about the Venom movies, then this movie will not change your mind. For some reason, the internet loves the Venom movies, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why someone could really watch these movies and thinks they're really good. For crying out loud, they're rated PG-13. They're not even rated R. Craven is rated R, and it's like, what the fuck? So I'm going to talk about the story specifically. It's not going to be much because it really just isn't anything interesting. So Eddie and Venom are on the run from pretty much everyone in the US, it seems like, because of what happened in the last film. I kind of forgot, but I do remember they like fucked over a cop, or I think killed him, or at least he was blamed for the murder. So they're on the run, and you know, they're in Mexico having some drinks, fucking around. They saved some dogs, so, you know, they're pretty wholesome. You know, they're like anti-heroes or vigilantes or whatever. So after that, they're just still on the run. They're just running around, and honest to God, this is the point of the film where they then cut to a bunch of explanations. Like, apparently Area 51 is being dissolved, and apparently it was also used to hold researches on other symbiotes and other weird experiments, and people were even being tested with them. But for whatever reason, Area 51 is being shut down. But there's some scientists there who's really passionate about the symbiotes. They really think they can help humanity. The main scientist is someone who lost their brother in a storm on the beach, and the brother got electrocuted, but she survived. She has a broken arm. That's about it. And then there's another scientist who likes Christmas. That's all you really need to know about them. They want to keep working on the symbiotes, and then there's the military that's involved who wants to just kill the symbiotes. Eventually, Eddie and Venom are still on the run. This is like after 30 minutes of the film. They're on the run in the desert. They see a horse, and they ride it for a while. And then there's this alien that's hunting Eddie and Venom. Now, at the beginning of the film, it turns out this new alien species hunts symbiotes, and they're sent by the creator of the symbiotes because the symbiotes betrayed them. So these aliens are like bounty hunters, and they go across the world and finding them. And they want Eddie and Venom for some specific reason that I'll get into later. And whenever Eddie and Venom are morphed together, like become the same person, he can easily be tracked by this new alien creature. So this pretty much happens. They're on a plane and they run away. They're in the desert, then they see the horse. Then eventually they get tracked down by the military, who is hunting symbiotes and Eddie, because they're wanted in the US. And they come across aliens as well, and the alien kills the military men, but Eddie gets away. A lot of stuff's happening, but Eddie just gets away. He eventually just finds this hippie family who at first felt very forced in and didn't really feel like they had a point in this movie, but they become important. And then Eddie is brought to Vegas. There's some moments where like he thinks about his life and all the things he's done. Like he doesn't want to be Venom, or at least he doesn't want the life that he's living, you know, constantly running away. It feels as though the film was trying to show that Eddie wanted to have a family and a normal life, but really doesn't anymore. So yeah, now this is basically halfway through the film. Eddie is in Las Vegas, and they meet Martin Scorsese, who doesn't really do anything in this film. He doesn't even say a fucking word. At least that's what people think. I mean, I've looked it up actually. I don't know if that's really Martin Scorsese. At least he definitely looks like him. I'm thinking he is, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It doesn't really matter. Eventually, they meet Mrs. Chen from the first few movies, who runs the convenience store, which apparently she's just there in Vegas conveniently, I guess. She's like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm gambling a lot and I'm winning a lot, and yeah, come out to my hotel. And yeah, I don't know how to say this, but there's a sex scene with Venom and Mrs. Chen. So yeah, that was pretty awkward. But now that Eddie and Venom are together, the monster is still hunting them across the... I'm just kidding, by the way. They didn't have sex. They were actually dancing, and she was like, oh, let's have one last dance. And everyone clapped and cheered. Everyone stood up and was crying. That really did happen in my movie theater. Please trust me. Yeah, it wrecks the place up, and then the military shows up and kidnaps Eddie and Venom. a lot of shit happens. Eventually they get taken underground and then split up. Because the military has a way of doing that with people, with sound. Then the hippie family that was being nice to Eddie that dropped him off in Vegas showed up to Area 51 because they were looking for alien cheeks to clap, you know, just like the Area 51 raid. They see the base and they were like, hey, let's go even deeper. And then they like sneak in, and because Area 51 is being demolished and being shut down, they can just walk right in, like, with no problem, even though in real life... even if it was being shut down, they'd be shot on sight, but whatever. It's in this universe, so it's different. Ha. So yeah, then they climb up to a tower, and yeah, this family's there, and they definitely won't become a nuisance anytime in the future. While this is happening, the military is like, oh yeah, we captured Eddie and Venom. The deed is done. Now we're gonna have to kill them because this alien is here. The reason why the alien is hunting Eddie is because those two made a conduit of some sort of some type of item, which apparently if you die with a Venom or a symbiote, you make this item that can be tracked and is very powerful. It's kind of like a MacGuffin. It doesn't really fucking matter. The aliens want him, and that's why they're on the planet looking for Eddie now. But the guy from the military, Strickland's like, no, the Venoms, they need to all die. These symbiotes, they all need to die. They're aliens, plus we don't want aliens in our world. And Eddie was responsible for killing my men too. And so he shoots Eddie, and then Venom was working with the Christmas scientist from earlier, like I said, because like she was sympathizing with the symbiotes because she really loves the work and she really is passionate about these symbiote aliens. So she works with Venom to escape, and then they save Eddie from being shot. Then a lot of shit happens. The alien now finds them at Area 51, and a lot of shit happens, and eventually they need to fight back. So all the other scientists takes the other symbiotes, and then this is when we get a bunch of cameos from other symbiotes from the comics. So that's pretty cool. A lot of fighting happens, a lot of shooting. Doesn't really matter. It's just a lot of running. Eventually the hippie family gets in the way because they're on top of a watchtower, and Eddie has to like protect them as well. And then there's some scenes where it's like, oh, Eddie, you're really an alien all along. You said earlier that you promised you weren't one. It's just some stuff they were talking about. It doesn't really fucking matter. This family definitely becomes like a nuisance because like they're in the way, and like someone eventually tries to drive them away, but the dad comes back with a rocket launcher and saves Eddie eventually, and then he runs away. So all this is just happening. Honestly, it's nothing really special or important. Just a lot of fighting. Some of the symbiotes and the scientists die because they just get one shot, like eaten very easily, so that's pretty lame. And the entire time, I just did not give a single fuck about these characters that we know nothing about. Eventually, like, more aliens show up, and Eddie and Venom are like, oh, hey, this shit's rough. There's only one thing we can do, and Venom's like, I gotta sacrifice myself. And then he takes Eddie with a bunch of the creatures and absorbs them, goes to the hydrofluoric acid pipes and turns it on and spits Eddie out, and it was like Venom was like, Eddie, I'll never forget you, go to New York for me, because that's what they wanted to do. So yeah, that happens. Venom dies. Strickland also dies because he lets off a grenade. He was stabbed earlier, and I guess he just wanted to kill himself, even though I feel like he could have survived, but he died anyway, so whatever. So yeah, all that happens. Eddie is the only one who survives. Everyone else runs away. Area 51 is blown up. Eddie then wakes up. He's told by someone from the military, like, oh, hey, you speak to no one about this ever again. So yeah, that happens. He's now in New York. He makes his promise, sees the Statue of Liberty, and yeah, the movie ends. And the post-credit scenes implies that the King of Symbiotes isn't done. I guess he wants to still find them and take revenge. There are some symbiotes still on the planet, like Agony, the purple one that took over the scientist with the electrified arm. She now is healed. I don't know why she didn't do that earlier. Throughout the movie, there was this guy who also had a symbiote who kind of looked like the film from The Shape of Water, and there's even a scene where he was being very racist and said it's the black one that's important, and we need to hunt him down, because that was the only way to make the aliens leave, is if Eddie gets shot or whatever, or killed. Yeah. Other than that, the Mexican guy from the bar at the beginning of the film was captured by the military in the beginning of the film, and he also didn't die in the Area 51 explosion. He walks out and runs to the sunset, and then it's implied that a bug gets into this symbiote vial, and it implies there's more Venom to come, guys, but no more Tom Hardy. Even though Tom Hardy would love to do more Venom movies, it seems like, but no more. So yeah, that was Venom 3, The Last Dance. And man, overall, I think the biggest complaint is that this film was just bloated. I was watching the credits to see the end credit scenes, and I could not believe how many people worked on this film, and this is all they have to show. It really seems like this film had a small budget. Like, there was so little in this film that it was honestly mind-blowing to think that this film is even over an hour long. Like, so little is even done. The production value is so little in this film. I feel like the majority of it is just CGI and paying the actors their salaries. Because, oh my god, this movie just looks so cheap, and it's just mind-blowing that this many people are in this film. Another thing I didn't even get to talk about is the music. They just played a bunch of pop songs. They didn't really make their own, and it's so embarrassing to see that they talk about the original soundtrack in the credits, and all it is just other popular songs they didn't make. Like, oh my god, how embarrassing. Editing as well was just mid, nothing really special at all, just a lot of quick cuts to other scenes. It was just very choppy, this scene to this scene, gotta get to this scene, gotta hurry up and explain everything. Just bloated. Oh my god, this could have been like a series at this point of how cheap it looked. It's honestly amazing, and the budget was 120 million. It's probably gonna make its money back plus a little bit, but other than that, yeah, this film was just very boring. It wasn't very interesting in my opinion. The best moments was when Eddie and Venom were together. There was a lot of moments that was very funny with those two, and I would rather just have a show or a series with just them and just, you know, beating up crooked criminals or gang lords or whatever in the cartel. I don't know. But yeah, they need to stop with these films in general. I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 10, maybe a 5 if I'm feeling generous. It's just very mid, but I'd probably just say 4. I don't know. Just, there's so little to like. It's all just bad. It's better than Joker 2, I will say. So you got that, Venom. You weren't the worst superhero comic book related film of the year. Yeah, so good job. Yeah, that's really all I got to say. If you like Venom, fine, go watch it. Don't expect anything spectacular. Don't expect anything relating to like the MCU or with Spider-Man in this film at all. It's very clear that they don't want that to happen. I don't know if it's because they legally can't with copyright, or they just don't want to, or it wouldn't make sense and they just don't feel like writing around it. But yeah, that was Venom: The Last Dance. That's all I got. You all have a nice one.